Welcome back to the Artefactors Union. I am your foreman, as always, Douglas Scoundrel. Today we are putting together the Tiri Core Box, brand shiny new box from Weird Games. Let's get into it. Artwork on the front, we got Tiri the Nomad, the artwork right here. And then we've got Oro Boro, the totem, and is this circle boy, Kett, the Henchman, and 3 Aua Warriors, this being the one that we have artwork for on the front. Let's look at the back, and the renders. Nothing big here, just a bunch of humanoid bipedal things and a circle robot. So I don't think it's going to be too terribly difficult, but we'll see. Let's look at the sprues. Woohoo! Only one sprue. That bodes well. There's a lot of pieces for the Aua Warrior, so they might actually be the hardest part of this. But here's Tiri. We'll start with her, Oro Boro, Kett, and then the 3 warriors. So let's look at Tiri. So let's go and grab her lower torso and thighs, slap the upper torso on, then her arm and other arm. We'll do the face, then the arm that isn't attached to this piece, and then both legs. Yeah, I think that's a good order. Lower torso is F1, then we're going to grab F2, and we're just going to glue it up top here. F2 attaches without issue. Now we're going to add F4 on the back here. It is both going to take up that connection point across her shoulders, as well as the 2 on her belt. Also, please note that this right here needs to be removed for it to actually fit on the model. That's what it should look like. There's the view from the back with that attached. Moving on, let's actually do the rest of the bits, working our way from the top down. So we'll do her face next, which is F3. And that took a little bit to get it folded up in there, but you shouldn't see much in the way of seams. It might be easier to do this before you put like the back piece on there, but it wasn't too difficult. So up to you, really. Let's do the left arm now, which is F7. Right arm. Now, she has it palm down. Use the render as a good point of reference. Shouldn't be any seams, though. There we go. Let's give her some legs now. See our 2 connection points on the stumps of her legs. One is smaller, one is bigger, so you just use that to determine which one is right and which one is left. So looking at the bits, we got the right leg, which is the bigger connection point over here, and the left leg, which is the smaller one. F6, the right leg, goes in pretty nice. Let's do F5, the left leg. There is the left leg. Seated pretty close to the right leg, but she should be able to stand up on her own. And that way you know that's sitting correct. Awesome. Cool. Tiri the Nomad, all done. Hardest parts was doing her face, honestly, and the right arm. The legs were surprisingly easy, but just be careful because they're relatively small. Connection points, all the bits are kind of small, so just be gentle. Let's move on to Oro Boro. Oro Boro, the robot lizard. We're going to grab G4 and G5, put them together, then we'll do the neck and the head after that. And we'll do the limbs, because I feel like it might be harder to put them on with the tail there. And then we'll do the tail and the stand last. G4 and G5 combine to make the body. Now we'll do G6, the neck, which goes in this hole right here. I guess neck wasn't the best description. This appears to be the lower jaw and the neck. But let's go ahead and grab the head, G7. I'll go right on this hole, of course. There's a pretty face. It's got the mouth open. This is what you're looking for. Bicameral focus. All right, let's get to the limbs. The front limbs are going to be these closed hands, whereas the back ones are going to be sort of the open hands, splayed fingers. So this sort of ball type thing is our connection point. So G2 is going to be our right arm, and G1 is going to be our left arm. And then G8 is going to be our right leg, and G9 is going to be our left leg, I think. We'll see about that. Completely forgot how legs are supposed to bend, so swap the back legs. This one is going to be our right leg, and this one is going to be our left leg. Normally, big old ball joint connection points aren't very good for giving you an idea of where the limb is supposed to rest, but thankfully we also have these sort of guide connection points as well. So right there and right there is where the limbs will connect. But anyways, G2 the right arm, G2 the right arm, now G9 the right leg. G9 the right leg fits nice and snug up against the right arm. Let's flip them over and excuse me, do G1 the left arm. G1 the left arm, now G8 the left leg. Of quick note on G8, you see this notch here with the bump in the center? It's going to glue to the outside edge of the connection point with that bump in the center being right on this little divot. G8, left leg. Now we just got G10, the tail. Jam it right in this big old hole and complete the circle. There's G10, the tail will be going to his left side. Kind of disappointed you couldn't jam it into his mouth like an Oro Boro should, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and add the last bit, G3, which is the stand here. By stand, I mean it's going to be what Oro Boro needs to stand upright on the base, but this is what we're looking at upright, and it's just going to like plug in to his tail right here on this side. Like so. Looks real nice. There's Oro Boro. Nothing too difficult. Hardest part was trimming the flash off of the body, and I guess the limbs, trying to slot them in next to each other was a little bit difficult, but that's where the hardest part. Not too bad. Let's put together Kett, our henchman. It's Kett. It's not Moon Knight. He looks exactly like Moon Knight, but he's not Moon Knight. Okay, we're going to grab the body, and there's actually some specific instructions online, so I'm going to go ahead and copy those here because, yes, that makes perfect sense. We'll grab the body, we'll put the leg on, and the arm on, and the head on, and then there's a specific order to everything else. We'll grab this bit and put it on the back of his belt, back here, and then we grab the cape and put that on, and then do these little plug things that are on the cape, and lastly, we'll grab the rest of the spear. E1 is our body bit. Now let's do... Sorry, sometimes the sprue is difficult to read. This is going to be E6, the left leg, back here. Fits nice and snug in there. Now let's do E4, the left arm. So this one probably should go in after you put the cape on, just because it's a real weird connection point you can see on the back. It's nothing really solid to connect to. You're just going to make sure that plane is flat, so when you put the cape on, it's going to look nice. But that's something I learned and you can do instead of what I did here. But moving on, let's put the head E2 on. Okay, had to reference the render to make sure he was looking in the right direction, because it's pretty freeform how you can set the head on there. It looks good. Now let's get the stick things on the back of his belt. E9. Back there, sorry. Give the boy some modesty. Now, let's do E3 the cape. That looks nice. It's going to be very tight to the body. You can see why you need to put the belt things on first, but also if you forget those, I don't think most people are going to notice if they're gone. And let's get the things on his back here. As you can see, you've got a big hole and a little hole. And as we can see here, we've got a big bump and a little bump. So E8 is going to be our left, on the thing on the left, and E7 is going to be the thing on the right. I don't know, the exhaust? Maybe? There's E8. Pretty easy. Now let's do E7. This one was noticeably harder, just because there's considerably less of an obvious connection point. One sec. Well, I can't show you the orientation now, but look on the bit. You got these sort of holes that go on the top and the bottom, so that gives you one of two different orientations. These vents are on the side for both bits, and then you want it pointing out towards the right, so just dry fit and you should get a good spot for it. Anyways, we only have one piece left, E5, the rest of the staff, which is going to connect in there as well as onto his forearm. Huzzah. So it does connect in right next to his hand, as well as that hole in the forearm, but also the entire length of the forearm between those 2 points. And that will get you a nice straight staff. But Kett is done. Alright, Kett with his glorious action pose, all done. Hardest part was figuring out that left exhaust battery whatever thing sticking out, but right, not left, right. And yeah, once that was figured out, the only issue I really had was maybe just jamming the staff into his forearm and getting that straightened out. The rest, as long as you follow the appropriate order that I laid out that the also have in the instructions, you're not going to have a huge headache. Let's do the minions now. Here are Aua Warriors, the minions, and I believe more bits than any of the other 3 models. This will be fun. Okay, I realized that they got numbering up there, and I'm technically holding the sprue down, upside down, I guess, but whatever. I've decided to go in this order, so we're going left to right, starting with this guy, which is number B. Letter B, which uses the A for its bits. Instructions online do indicate which letter it is, though, so if you're also using those, then this will be Aua Warrior B. That's the one that's kind of Naruto running, I guess. But we'll grab the body, put on both legs. Yeah, we're going to work from bottom up. So body, then both legs, the chest piece here, then both arms, the extra arm holding the halberd thing here, head, and then the flappy bits on the back. A2, our body we're starting with. Let's add A7, the shorter leg, down here, and then A8, the left leg, which is the full leg. Here is A7 kind of gassing on the angle, but it should fit flat on the ground. That's all that really matters, and there's no big gaps around the seam, so I'm going to call it good. Now let's do A8, the left leg. There it is, showing you the important angle. Notice it's a good seam right there. This is the angle from the front. Should be good. Let's add A6, the chest piece. There it is, the chest, and I apologize, 2 extra goddamn arms on this model. But let's do the other metally arm bit. Kind of hard to see the connection point, but it should be right there, coming out of her lower ribs, and her hand on this arm here is connected to the spear halberd thing. A4 is what we're adding here. There we go. Looks pretty good. The wrist isn't too obvious of a connection point, but it's also a metal arm, so it can be a little bit wonky and no one's gonna notice. But let's do the real, I think they're real, fleshy arms? Yeah. A3 is going to be our right arm over here, and A5 is going to be our left arm. And again, I think they're sweeping back because she's Naruto running. A3, that's the angle we're looking for. It took me a little finagling to get it right. But always, if there's no seams or very, very little space visible, you should be good. Alright, let's do A5, the left arm. The shoulder joints are all fiddly on both sides, but I got it. That's what we're looking for. Now let's go ahead and do the head. What the heck is that? Number A1, the head. There's the head, just looking just a little bit to the right. Relatively easy fit. Now let's do the 2 sashes or whatever on her back. A10, the bigger one, is going to be going attached to her butt. And A9, the smaller one, is going to be in the space between her shoulders. A10, the part right here that we're looking at will also connect to the base, so she's just not connected on one dainty foot, but that should be flat. Now let's do A9. You see this little bump up top? That's what we're connecting to the model. Hard to tell what the connection point is otherwise. Also, I guess I should point out that for A10, there is like a ridge right above the hole in the butt of the model, and that ridge is actually connected to a similar tooth on A10. So make sure you're not setting it too far down. Anyways, let's go and put A9 on the shoulders. There you go. I think that's it. Nice and flowy. All done. Aua Warrior B. We're going to call her Ayla. That's a done. Not the easiest build, no. Relatively difficult. Hardest part is probably the shoulders on the upper set of arms, getting that angle correct, as well as just avoiding knocking off that right foot. It's probably going to happen. Unless you put it on like last, which actually I recommend doing. Ignore the order I did. And also just sort of fitting the metal chest piece and, no, really the arm and halberd thing, attaching that to both metal arms was also kind of difficult. So, not easy, but doable. Let's move on to Aua Warrior A. There's our sprue for Aua Warrior B. The instructions have yet another attachment order, so good we know that going ahead. Let's grab the body. Then we'll throw the thigh on, the left thigh. We'll do both legs. This should be the left leg because you can see part of it on this piece. This one will be the right because there's no part sticking out here. Once we do that, we're going to go ahead and put the right arm on. Ignore the halberd for now. Then add this chest piece. And then the this whole thing, this is one piece, I guess. We'll go on after that. And last, we'll put on the back bit thing, the cape, and then we'll do the halberd last. Start with B2, the body. Now add B5, the left thigh. Stupid, sexy aliens. Anyways, thigh attached. You can also glue the pouches to the waist as well. The one thing you're concerned about making sure is lined up is the gap for the sort of tabard thing. Should be a nice flush plane. Now let's add the right leg, the longer one, and that number is B7. I guess I didn't show you the connection point, but there's a hole there, and you just fill the hole with the leg. It'll look nice, no seams, and then we can move on to the other leg, which is, where'd it go? I lost it on the sprue. B6! And we're probably looking at a very similar angle as to B7. There's our left leg. I'm actually going to do something different and glue them to a base now, just because both those legs are fairly small connection points, and I think if I can hold them by the base, less likely to knock those legs out of place. There we go. Now let's do our first step of the three-step process. We're going to add B3, the right arm. Yeah, just standing stoically with his arm like this, going to be holding the halberd. Halberd's going to be resting on the ground. Now let's do the chest piece, which is B8. That was real easy. Now let's do B1, which is the face, and the tabard, which goes over those two pieces. So now, it does connect up here on the face as well as down here in this big old hole, but also these little dots here. There's tubes on the bit, and they'll connect inside these two little connection points. Ta-da! Alright, front's all done. Let's work on the back. Actually, I think the cape goes on first. Yep, so we'll do the cape, which is B9. Is attached, went on easily enough. Make sure that it connects to the front chest piece that we did earlier. Make like a whole shell or maybe a metal poncho or something, not sure how I describe that. But anyway, let's do the big thing on its back, which would be B10, our penultimate piece. There we go, easy peasy. Now let's do the halberd and the right hand B4, and we'll be done. The wrist connects right here at this bump. All nice and stoic. Alright. Aua Warrior A. All done. We're going to call this one Thrawn. Hardest part, again, the legs just kind of a spindly connection point. Be very cautious knocking them off. Make sure you do the bits in the order I showed you, as well as what's in the instructions. I had a bit of a hard time getting the back and front chest piece to completely stick together on the right side. I don't know if that was just a trimming accident on my part, or if other people are going to suffer the same problem. But I'm just putting some extra glue in there and squeeze them together real tight, and eventually that gap resolved itself. But let's do the last one. In the final stretch, let's get going. We have ourselves, we'll start with the pelvis here. Then we'll add the stuff that kind of attaches to it, so we'll basically work from the bottom up again. So there's a back flap here. We've got like an upper left leg, and then the lower left leg, the right leg, and then we got a lower part of the torso, and then two halves of an upper part of the torso, which we'll combine. And lastly, we'll add the right arm and the head. Yeah, let's go. C6, we're starting him in the butt. Let's add C7, that back flap right there, in that middle spot. There we go. Now let's do C8, the upper left leg. Now you could actually probably put this in backwards because it just looks like it can go either way, but this is what we're looking at. You want the actual bare leg pointed towards the butt. So let's grab C9. Correct, C9. And jam it in the stump of the bit we just installed. Here's that back shot. It looks real weird. Honestly, it just kind of looks real weird from all angles, but give me a second here. Really, just compare it to the render of the back of the box. It should give you a good idea. Now, this is what he's going to be doing upright. He's kneeling. Anyway, so let's add that right leg on now. Well, this one I'm honestly not sure of. It looks best, at least at the connection point, when it's as flush to the thigh as possible, but also those toes aren't going to be flat on the ground. Now, the render doesn't help me a whole ton here. I think this is the best option, where they're not actually like flat, but they're still touching the ground. Here, I'll add them to the base after this and show you. But what I think the important thing is that the left leg and the knee can sit on the ground comfortably at the same time, and just the talons will be touching on the right leg. There, see, that looks good, and the talons are just touching. Maybe I'll just nudge it and see if that other toe can fit down there. But it looks good, so we're going to continue on, and now start working on our lovely muscular torso, C1. Just going to jam right in that hole there. Okay, I wasn't expecting him to be bent over this much. Very flexible boy. Let's actually grab the front of the chest first, C3, and put that on, because I feel it's going to be a lot harder if we put C4 on first. So, front of the chest. As orientation, we're looking at it properly. You can see the outline of pecs, as well as the very obvious collar of this cloak he's wearing, or whatever. And that's why I don't normally put them on bases until the end. I had to pop them off so I could actually jam that on here. It was nearly impossible without. But that's what it looks like. You also get a good camera angle, which you wouldn't be able to with that base on there. Let's slap C4 on there, the back of the upper torso and the left arm. Correct, we are doing C2 first, which goes right there and is... Yeah, better look. Clang. It goes right there and is the right arm. It is not going to look terribly great until we put the other piece on C4. But the connection point is this, like, separation between the tricep and the bicep, and you can barely see it now, so you know that's in the right spot. But let's put C4 back on. It took more wiggling and fiddling than I was expecting it to in the second time around, but we got it on, so let's jam the head on there and call him good. C5 is our head. There's the head. He's just looking to his left as far as he possibly can. He's an owl. Goodness. Oh, wow. Okay, I was very wrong on the feet and hands. Oh boy, did I screw that pose up initially. But this is why I don't normally glue them to the base until I'm done. But no real good way of confirming that he's supposed to be on both feet, not the knee, and having the hand on the ground. I mean, I figured the hand was supposed to be on the ground, but it... Yeah, alright, so how to fix this so you don't do what I did. Do the feet last. There's nothing really in the way of putting them there. Do the feet last, because that'll make sure that you have the correct angles and you don't have to, like, kind of rip them out and reshape them at the very end like I did there. So just start with the pelvis, do the flap, do the torso and all that stuff up there, and then do the legs, knowing that the fingies on the left hand and both sets of feet are supposed to be flat on the ground, and you should be good. Remember, never, never, ever follow along with me. Wait until I'm done with the build and then go back and start again. Alright, let's look at everyone. Oh, by the way, this man is now named Kett. Let's look at everyone. Clearing the Tiri Core Box done. We have Tiri the Nomad, Oro Boro, Kett, Aua Warrior, 1, 2, and 3. I don't remember the specific order, but you can figure that out. And not an easy box. Not an easy box. Everyone's humanoid with a few extra bits here and there, but the relatively small connection points, especially the legs. And if you get your bits out of order on a few models, you're going to have a hard time. But I showed you all the pain points. Okay. It looks like everyone is auditioning for MCP. They got their best superhero pose out here, except for Tiri, who didn't get the memo. Poor girl. Anyways, pretty dynamic sculpts, pretty sculpts in general. Learn from my mistakes. Don't put stuff on the base unless you absolutely have to. And enjoy your new master for the outcasts and explorers. But I have been your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, helping you build a better Malifaux. Enjoy your minis. Thanks.